feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall. But tonight I'm letting it go. Spend my coin for sure. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now.
Hi everyone, welcome back. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. And if you're my previous subscribers, welcome. I'm so happy to have you guys again. And so for today's video, we're going to be talking about Stacy Abrams, whether or not can she win. And we will be focusing on Georgia specifically. So it's been a very long time since we spoke about Georgia. I believe the last time we spoke about it was a day before the results came in January of last year. So it's been a very long time. So this video is being live streamed. Actually, it's being recorded, by the way. So this is a recorded video on January 16, 2021 at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So when you see this video, it will be obviously be way past 10 p.m. But I am recording it at 10 because I'm not waking up for this. But anyway, besides the point, this video is for entertainment purposes only and for education purposes only as well. So if you are new, of course, everything will be timestamped in the description below. You can also find them in the comment section as well if you just want to jump to a certain part of this video. If you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. It really helped out the channel, helped us grow. Also, feel free to as well give this video a thumbs up. It really helps with our growth potential. So I do hope you guys like this video. I spent a lot of time doing it, so I do hope you enjoy. So for the state of the question that we're going to go over in this video is we're going to talk about the state of Georgia's governor race in 2022. We're going to kind of get a bird's eye view and kind of see what's going on. Yes, it is 2022, the year that we're in right now, and it will be held the same day as the midterm elections. So make sure you go out and vote if you live in Georgia. We have here a mashup between the three Republicans versus Stacy Abrams. I'll talk about who they are in a moment. We have when will we know the results? Will it be the same night? And will it be contested, as well as whether or not the person's going to concede the election? We have here what are the president's role in this race and how does it affect it, Biden and Trump included? Then, of course, as well, we're going to end off with two very big questions. Issues of voting rights in the state, and will there be a concession? And whether or not the final main part of this video, can she win? So there will be a lot of different components. Again, everything will be timestamped in the description below. If you have not already, feel free to check out my website link, and you can join my Facebook group to be notified when I upload, along with be able to communicate with me and many others who think just like you. It's a great way for you to be able to keep in touch with me and talk with me directly, and not only that, receive exclusive notifications when I am about to go live, along with actually be able to attend the live from your phone wherever you are. So if you are interested, this will be a great aspect for you. So the reason why we're talking about Georgia specifically is if you have not already remembered, I'm going to give you a little overview. So in 2018, during the 2018 midterm election, during the blue wave year of Donald Trump's presidency, we saw a very massive increase for the Democratic Party support. This is the closest election since 1950 for the Georgia's governor race. And we have here Brian Kempt only wins his race by 50.2% to 48.8%. Now, the reason why Stacy Abrams did not concede this election in 2018 was partly because Brian Kempt was overseeing this election as he was Secretary of State at the time. Therefore, he could have manipulated the vote if he had wanted to. There is no claim, well, there is no definitive proof, so to speak, that he messed with the result, but we cannot say he did not because we cannot prove or disprove it. This is just for entertainment purposes only as well. All right, so that is 2018. In 2020, excuse me, we have the presidential results between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And 2 years later, after Stacey Abrams lost, she ended up creating a campaign to get off the vote campaign to get a lot of Georgians to go out and vote, especially church to the polls or something like that. I forgot what that is, where they take people who want the church and take them straight to the polls and vote. And because of that, it led to a Joe Biden victory in 2020. And if you look at the margins here, Joe Biden won by 49%, I believe, to Donald Trump 49%. So you can clearly see that 1% really made the difference here, even though there was more higher vote turnout. In 2021, as recent of last year, 1 year ago, actually, John Ossoff, the Democrat, flipped the seat from David Perdue, and he ended up winning the seat. And not only that, we also have Raphael Warnock, who also flipped the seat from the Republicans as well. Now, please remember these two Republican candidates were backed by Donald Trump in the 2020 presidential election, and both of them were leading by big margins against the Democratic challenger. And a lot of psychics at that time said the Democrats were going to win, and indeed they won. So that is a little bit of the background story of Georgia and why it's contested. It's been a very contested swing state, but it always leans Republican. It was only since 2020 that it started leaning more Democratic. And so, as you all may have remembered, Donald Trump with the big lie, claiming everything about the 2020 election, and because of that, Georgia has enacted voting restriction laws, and so that will indeed change the result of this election, which is why it considers swing state, but it still leans Republican, particularly because of the strict voting rights. So let's take a look. Let's meet the candidates. So the first candidate we have here is we're going to have Brian Kempt, the incumbent Republican, and he is the guy who certified the election results in the state of Georgia. And Donald Trump did not like that, obviously, as that went against his big lie. And so because of that, Donald Trump put up Perdue, the guy who literally just lost the election to a Democratic senator who maintains his seat, and what was able to win by 10% prior to John Ossoff flipping his seat. So the fact that Donald Trump is backing Perdue, and Perdue at this time when he announced his campaign for governor, he specifically stated that if he was governor, he would have not certified the Georgia election result. And so he is being backed by Donald Trump, the primary challenge, Brian Kempt. But Brian Kempt also has as well is a former Democrat representative who now turned to the Republican Party side and is now challenging Brian Kempt for the governorship for the Republican ticket. So you can kind of see right there already that the Republicans are already divisive and they already have 3 candidates that they have to choose from. Whereas the Democrats, when it comes to the Democratic Party side, it's just Stacy Abrams. There's no one else challenging Stacy Abrams that is going to let her have full reign. It looks like to me already that she is, as of right now, it's going to be the clear front runner for the Democratic Party in terms of the primary. So let's take a look at the results and the questions. So I do hope you guys like this video. Please do not forget to like this video if you have not already. All right, so let's take a look at the overall view of Georgia's governor's race. So I'm going to be using my homemade tarot deck to kind of see if there's going to be any information that we need to know about in the state of Georgia. Okay, Spirit Angel, please tell me about the Georgia governor race in 2022 midterm. In November of 2022, what will be the results and what are everything that we need to look at? Is the voting rights issued in the governor race? What do we need to know? What is the overall view, the bird eye? What is happening in Georgia right now? What is happening in Georgia at this time with the energy? Okay. What is happening in Georgia? This goes back in. We'll keep this. What is happening in Georgia right now? Okay. Interesting. Let's take a look. So the first thing you have here is you have the Republican hold. Right now, I don't want to jump to the conclusion of what this could mean yet. I'm just going to give some pointers to what it could mean. It could mean that the Republicans are going to hold this governor race and win it. Again, they're going to hold it. It could also mean that the Republican governor office right now is being challenged. That's what this could also mean as well. So we have here as well as the margin, electoral college margin. But in this case, we're talking about percentages, a winning percentage. I see the winning percentage being between 52 to 48. And normally it will be the Senate results, but in this case, it will be the percentage, which seem to be on par with what we've seen over the past few years with Georgia. I would not be surprised if it's going to be between this margin. We have here as well, but also challenging as well, is the woke party, the woke culture. Yes, we have here challenging it. And that is the prediction or psychic. And you kind of see the tower cards here. So what it's telling me here is that yes, it's going to be very tight. And it could either go either way. It can go to the Republican or the Democrat. So as of right now, it looks as if it's going to be a very tight race, but it's going to be a bigger margin than what we've seen before 2018. So it's going to be a bigger margin, a little bit bigger, but not too big. Underneath this Republican hold, we have the unsolved mysteries: Atlantis, Egypt, Bermuda Triangle. And actually, believe it or not, we have voting rights issues. So actually, what we was witnessing here is, which is unsolved mysteries, is telling me here we don't know the effect of voting rights. We don't know if more people are going to go out and vote, because we have here early voting. We have mail-in ballots, early voting, easy access. And that's reverse. And the reason why that's reverse is telling me here that the access is all these stuff that I talked about on this card here. It's actually restrictive in the voting rights bill in Georgia's governor's race. We have here as well as imprisonment. We have here it's innocent. So there is going to be some sort of accusation that's going to be made during this governor's race that's actually not true. It's not true. And it has to relate potentially to something on a global scale, potentially diplomacy, foreign policy, could be something overseas trade, foreign interference. It could also be as well the pandemic and the handling of the pandemic. It does feel like in some way or some form there's some sort of manipulation and pointing fingers at somebody who didn't do anything. Is really what I'm seeing here. As well, we also see here during this point in the governor's race, we have a lot of people with Great Depression, right? Unemployment issue. So unemployment is going to be a major issue in the state of Georgia. We have an unstable economy and a corporate greed. So it does feel like in some way or some form, it's going to be very hard for voters to get out and vote in general, particularly with the economy. And so you can definitely expect to have a little bit lower turnout. We do have here normal turnout. It's reverse, which tells me it's going to be a lot lower than the past couple elections. So that could initially mean lower turnout normally means a Republican victory, because Democrats are the ones that are least likely to turn out. And with a Biden presidency, it makes it more likely a Republican would take over, which could mean why this Republican holds. We have here as well as the results are undecided, and that's reverse, which tells me we're going to know the results once they come in. It's going to be very clear to the people when the results start ticking in. So as of right now, it looks like a Republican victory against Stacy Abrams, but let's not count it out already. Let's go through, because things can very well indeed change. This is just for entertainment purposes only, and this is the current energy as of right now. So things do change. Nothing is certain until it actually happens and is, set in stone, at least temporarily, until someone from the future goes back to the past and screws everything up. But until that point comes, it's stable. All right. Let's do the mashup between the three Republicans versus Stacey Abrams. So we're going to put a picture on the screen right now, and I am going to shuffle, and then we're going to talk about them. So let's do the first one. Let's do the incumbent between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kempt. So let's do him. That's Brian Kempt, in case you've already forgotten his face. All right, so Spirit Angel, tell me about Brian Kempt. The election between Brian Kempt and Stacey Abrams, if between those two, who will win? So let's do Brian Kempt. We're going to get 3 cards for Brian Kempt, and whoever has better cards will most likely be the victor. Okay, Brian Kempt. Okay. And Stacey Abrams. Okay. And one more card for Stacey Abrams. The election match between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kempt. So give me Stacy Abrams. Okay. Okay, so this is like what's overviewing the results here. So this is between Brian Kempt and Stacey Abrams. So we have October surprise for Brian Kempt. And this is interesting because we're talking about October. and October surprise is normally a time when a politician and an opponent will release information against their opponent to try to bring them down right before people vote, to make them more likely to not vote for them because it's fresh in the mind. So, for example, the FBI opening up the case against Hillary Clinton just before the presidential election, costing her the election to Donald Trump. Right, that's an October surprise. We also have here as well, we have a Democratic flip. Right, that's in the middle, a Democratic flip, which is very, very interesting. And then we have here as well as we have the religious card, which is actually reversed, and it's the Republican hold. What is again, it's so ironic because we have here the October surprise, Democratic flip, Republican hold. Interesting. I don't even know what to say to that one. That's Brian Kempt. That's Brian Kempt's card. For Stacy Abrams, we have Republican win. They win. We have here underneath the Democratic flip, we have the Troubles leader, right? And then underneath Republican hold, we have the flip reverse, is actually flip, which is the founding fathers, right? And so that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about who's going to most likely win. So if you were to take up the cards here, right, and you were to add them up, okay, October surprise versus Republican win, I would certainly say October surprise is the stronger card of it because this is more likely to happen every time an election occurs than this one. So Brian Kempt wins on this regard. Let me just bring this down. Brian Kempt wins on that one. Against the Democratic flip and the Troubles leader, I would certainly say that this is a stronger card, particularly because this will the only way this will happen is this card needs to be here. The Troubled leader, Stacey Abrams, wins. Right now it's already contested, right? And then we have here Republican hold founding fathers. And what I'm sensing here that the founding fathers, because they were the first ones who created the Declaration of Independence and the laws and the Constitution itself and the creation of the presidency within itself, I would certainly say the founding fathers would definitely be a stronger card in this case. And so as of right now, what I'm seeing here is that Stacey Abrams will more likely have a two against one card against Brian Kempt. Basically speaking, that 60% of the time, Stacey Abrams will win, and 40% of the time, Brian Kempt will win. Now, what's overviewing the results here is very contested. You can see here this very contested, right? Even this was very contested itself. We have here as well as we have every vote counts. The polls are wrong. So you can count that even if they're saying the Democrats are leading ahead, Stacey Abrams leading against Brian Kempt, you can count for sure that she's going to lose. Or, I mean, she's going to win. That may not be true because the card says here that the polls are wrong. Right? It could also be vice versa. Brian Kempt is leading and Stacey Abrams pulls through. We have here as well as President Lincoln, so it could potentially be during this time that there might be some sort of racist remarks made, hate groups, formation of Proud Boys coming in here as well. We do have here Democrat lean. So if anything, we have the polls here. It says here that it may say that a Democrat's lean, but it actually leans Republican. So to keep in mind that if you live in the state of Georgia, do not trust the poll. Just go out and vote. Does not matter what political party you are in general. We have here the presidency is undecided, but that's reversed, which means popular leader. So one of them is going to be more popular than the other, which makes sense because it's the popular vote system, because that's how this works in terms of this election here. So it does feel like, if anything, as of right now, against Brian Kempt, Stacey Abrams will win. Okay, so let's see. Let's look at the next guy. So I'm going to kind of put him on here so you kind of have the next view. Now, if you want to play with me and, go along with me, I highly recommend it. And I want to see what you get as well. So we have David Perdue. Now, David Perdue was a former senator who was defeated by a Democrat in 2021, and he was held over just narrowly lost to John Ossoff because he wasn't able to get the full vote. Anyway, besides the point, he wasn't able to win. That's self-explanatory. All right, so let's take a look. David Perdue versus Stacey Abrams. Okay, perfect. That was quick. Stacey Abrams against David Perdue. The election for governorship against Stacey Abrams against David Perdue. Give me 3 cards. Take the first 3. Okay, this Lincoln card shows up for her every time. Then take these cards here and put them for her. Okay, this is the card that represents the overall view at the election if these two were to match up. Okay, so for David Perdue, we have the polls are right, but it's reversed. It means the polls are wrong. So I don't know what this is already, but it points to me already that either the Republican polls are going to point to a Republican victory ahead of the election, or it's going to point to a Democratic victory. Regardless of who it is, you need to know that the results are wrong in terms of the polls. Now, this is just for entertainment purposes only. We have here as well we have the witch trial, but that's reversed. Right, and the witch trial is very important and is very significant here. The reason why I talk about here, talks about false accusation. David Perdue is known for this, as he made false accusation with the big lie. However, if you flip it, it's the electoral college margin. We're 1 to 13, 180, 61, 37, 2. Right? Now, if you flip it, we have 61, 39. So it's technically the same margin here if you really do the math. So technically, as of right now, David Perdue against Stacey Abrams will win by 61 to 40. 61 to 40. Or, I mean 39. Or it could mean that Stacey Abrams win against him with 61 to 40. That could be what this means as well. I just saw angel number 2121. We have here as well, we have healthcare for David Perdue. What's talked about high prices and greed, pharmaceutical companies, and universal healthcare. This could be talking about his handling of COVID-19 and how he participated in it. So if Stacey Abrams can nail him on the head about his disregard for COVID and everything like that in terms of the vaccines and everything, he could very well lose this election. It's not winnable for him, but it's also not a loss for him either. It's going to be a larger margin of a winning percentage than it was against Brian Kempt. We have here as well for Stacey Abrams. We have in the Senate is up for grabs. What's tells me here is a contested race between the two, but she has the ability to win it, which is why this is upright. We have here the Democratic president, but it's reversed, which means a Republican president, right? Again, for President Lincoln, we have President Lincoln for Stacey Abrams. And so the reason why this card is very significant here is because it talks about a Republican governor, a Republican governor, Brian Kempt, right now. And she's currently trying to unseat the Republican governor so that she can become governor. That's basically how this is working. And we also have feels for President Lincoln, right? So she's going to be seen as a very charismatic, very historical leader, perspective-wise. I mean, if she was to win, she would be the first Black woman to be governor and to win the governorship in Georgia and in the country as well. So she would be breaking the barrier for a lot of things as well. So it's very important for this to happen. So we're comparing the cards here. And I was comparing to the strength of its character. So we have David Perdue, we have Stacey Abrams. So we have pulled the wrong, Senate is up for grabs. I would say in this case, the Senate up for grabs is a little bit stronger than the polls are wrong. So Stacey Abrams wins in this regard. As for the Electoral College margin with the Republican president, what one? The president. So I heard the president would be a little bit stronger of a card than Electoral College margin. So as of right now, already it looks like Stacey Abrams against David Perdue will more likely win against David Perdue, but don't count David Perdue out either. Remember, the polls are wrong. We have here as well as we have the President Lincoln and healthcare. I feel like in the case, healthcare would be better because he has a lot more that she could talk about in terms of COVID, and he has a lot more baggage coming from that. Even though it's a negative, it's also strength because he thought it was Trump was going to help him maintain his Republican base, which he needs in order to win. So if anything, it's going to be a 2-1. But Stacey Abrams still has the same leverage as she did against Brian Kempt. So it is a little contested, but it's not as contested as it was with Brian Kempt. Now, as for the overall view of the matchup here, we have the swing states decide, but it's reversed, which is education. And so what I'm seeing here that he's going to try to do the same thing. David Perdue is going to try to pull the same thing that Terry McAuliffe failed to do. Again, the Republican governor in Virginia who won last year. So it does feel like in some way or some form that this is what's going to happen. They're going to try to make critical race theory a problem in the state of Georgia. We have here as well, we have historical leaders here, which is very important because we do see Lincoln again. So there is going to be some sense of charisma, but also historical significance. So definitely expect history to be playing out in the state of Georgia, no matter who the candidates are. We also have here as well, we have United Nations again. It does talk about pandemic here. So I feel like if the issues here overall in the state of Georgia change narrowly with the candidates, but it's mostly the same stuff. And then we also have here as well as we have, because the Democratic hold was reversed, we have Biden here. We have Democratic enthusiasm is going to be very high. So you can definitely expect that Stacey Abrams will do a lot better against David Perdue than if she was against Brian Kempt. And I think there's a particular reason for that. So if you wanted to know who will win the 61 margin, it will be Stacey Abrams, more so than David Perdue. So yes, David Perdue will lose bigly against Stacey Abrams. So let's see. So now the next guy that we're going to do is actually Vernon Jones, which is actually very important because he was a former Democrat who actually flipped to the Republican Party side and started voting for Donald Trump in the 2020 election. And the reason why this would also be very significant as well is how race would actually affect each party candidates and their voting record and power. So basically speaking of that, the Republican Party, not in general speaking, only a small minority of Republicans and maybe some Democrats as well are racist. And so some may refuse to stay home and every vote counts in a swing state. So this will be a little bit harder on the Republican Party side than it would be on the Democratic Party side. So it'll be very interesting to see how the results will play out when I put the card down. So Vernon Jones against Stacey Abrams. How would he fare against Stacey Abrams in the governor race in Georgia in 2022? How would he fare? Okay. Ooh, okay. Okay, you're ready. Okay, how would Stacey Abrams fare against Vernon Jones in the governor race in 2022? How would he fare? How would she fare? Okay. Okay, now show me the result of this mashup. What would be the result of this mashup? This video is going longer than I expected. Okay. All right. It looks like it's going to be a problem, but we'll see. All right. So we have here for Vernon Jones. Now, he is a former Democrat. So it's going to be kind of like them playing as a Democratic primary because remember, he knows the Democratic Party's talking point. So he's going to appear more moderate than Stacey Abrams. And so this might actually be to his benefit and hers. So we have here as well for Vernon Jones here. We have Stacey Abrams here. We have pharmaceutical companies, high prices, universal health care. So he's gonna kind of tout his ability. Now I'm not sure. I don't really know much about this guy, but if this guy has some sort of connection with Obama, you can definitely expect some Democratic Party voters to side with him on some issue, particularly relating to universal health care. I do feel like there's going to be, again, COVID. You can kind of see how COVID and the pharmaceutical healthcare industry move between the three candidates. I would definitely say this would be a cornerstone for the candidate Vernon Jones. So I do expect COVID to be one of the forefront issues. The problem against Stacey Abrams against Vernon Jones is that Vernon Jones it's going to appear as a former Democrat, so it's going to make it look as if, oh, he may have supported the vaccine, so making people more confused, and so he might actually get more of the vote than he anticipated against the Democrat. We do have here as well, I talked about foreign policy, but that's reverse here. We have Congress decide. So it does feel like in some way or some form that he was a former representative who had a record and that he made very important decisions that determined the result of some legislation. So if Stacey Abrams wanted to attack him or vice versa, she would attack him based on his record as a legislator. Now, as for Vernon Jones, we have here the national debt. So we have here banks and high inflation. We have bankrupt, overspending, stimulus check. It does feel like as well, he might be talking about stimulus check and how bad they are. He may also talk about inflation, or he might actually have the campaign overspend more money than what they are receiving in campaign donations. He actually might make his entire campaign go bankrupt, with my hand Sandy Abrams a victory nonetheless. Now that's what I see for Vernon Jones. Now as for Stacey Abrams, in case you forgot what she looks like, this is Stacey Abrams. We have here as well. We have Democratic enthusiasm will be very high for her. So maybe potentially this is talking about here that maybe although he might be a former Democrat, he may not be fair as well in terms of the healthcare issue, which will be a very major issue in this election. So I do feel like Stacey Abrams will do very well in terms of enthusiasm. So it feels like her best candidates to run again will be Vernon Jones and David Perdue, not Brian Kempt. We have here as well as Congress decide. We have here as well as we have education. Again, it does feel like in this case, education will be on the side of Stacey Abrams. She might be talking about student loan debt and stuff like that, which may really bring out the young vote, which is really going to help propel her to victory. We have here as well as we have the founding fathers again. She'll be talking about the core values of democracy and talking about how we need to bring ourselves back to that very moment when the Declaration was signed. Now, and how also she's also going to be talking about how far we came out of the country from that Declaration and how going to the she's going to be talking about the past and the future, so to speak. That's the answer that I'm really looking for. Sorry about that. I should have started with that, but that's what I'm seeing. Okay, so as for the overall view of the race here, we have the religious card, which is reversed. We have here Republican hold, which is upright. We have Republican hold here. We have new president, the inauguration day, which means new governor, right? We have here majority wins. So it kind of feels like in the case Brian Kempt will not be governor, we have a majority win, gerrymandering. So no matter how much the gerrymanders try to, if you don't know what gerrymandering is, basically taking, a 50-50 and making it 3-40, 3-1, even though they won 50% of the vote, or stealing basically. So gerrymandering is kind of the same thing here, and what it tells me here, majority wins. So it's going to be the majority here. Whoever votes, whoever wins, is going to have the majority of the public support backing them, which is going to be very important and very significant as well, as this is what's supposed to happen. It's not electoral college. We have here as well, we have the housing industry, 2008 recession, high housing prices, 1950 suburbs, right? So it could be very interesting. It could be talking about housing crisis. So again, it could crash. We could have an economic problem, which could be why I'm seeing them in the cards all today. We just have here Republicans win. So as of right now, I guess we're gonna kind of go with this. We're gonna kind of say, let me do the cards. Because as of right now, the results are saying Republicans are winning, right? With Vernon Jones. So as of right now, the matchup was held between Stacey Abrams and Vernon Jones. Vernon Jones will win. But let's just see. That's what those cards said. But let's take a look here. Let's look at the cards. Let's look at the power between the two. So healthcare versus Democratic enthusiasm, I would say Stacey Abrams wins in that regard. Now, as for Congress decides versus education, I would certainly say that people are less educated, and congressmen and women are 50-50. It kind of depends who's in there, but most of the time they're educated. It will be Congress will have more power. Now, as for the national debt and the founding fathers did not intend for the national debt to be as high as it is. I believe the founding fathers, particularly George Washington, warned us what not to do as a country. And so, if anything, I would definitely say he had more power. So, again, it does feel like in some way or some form, Stacey Abrams still has the ledge, but it's only 2-1. So, you can definitely certainly understand here that the Republicans do have the victory here. But what I see in terms of the cards and these candidates, if you were picking based on characteristic of the person, Stacey Abrams will beat each and every single one of them. But that's not how it works. It's not about characteristic. It's about who you want in power and who you want in position. Sometimes characteristics do play a very important role. That's the reason why I covered them in today's video, but there's no definitive determination saying that that is going to be 100% true come this election. It was in 2020 when it comes to Donald Trump versus Biden, but it may not hold true for Stacey Abrams versus like those three candidates. All right. So, yes, we answered this. We know the results will be contested. We are aware of that. That's the most likely outcome. But let's just see whether or not will we have the results by the same night. Will we know the results by the same night? Okay, so we have the Emperor card, right? We have Brian Kempt. He loses the primary. We have here two Republican challengers reversed. We have here the lack of communication between the candidates and the voters. And we have here Stacy Abrams comes in last minute and maybe end up winning. So it does feel like in some way or some form, there is going to be a victory nonetheless. I do feel like it's going to be an upset. It's going to be a surprise where the results appear to be one way, but then suddenly a swath of people who came in last moment swung the vote a different way. So it could be like one of those moments where it's showing to become a Republican victory, but last minute it becomes a Democratic one, or it's vice versa. That's what I'm seeing with the result. Now, what are the president's role in this race, and how did it affect it? If you believe it or not, Biden and Trump do have a major effect when it comes to the down ballot races. If in case you forgot what the presidents look like, let me show you. We had the 46th president of the United States, Joe Biden, and we also had the 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump. And so let's take a quick look. How does the two presidents, Donald Trump and Joe Biden, affect the Georgia governor's race in 2022? How does it affect it? Okay. Okay. Oh, my head hurts. All right, so we have a ton of cut reverse, and that's on the left side here. And what it's telling me here is that it won't be a smooth victory. It won't be an outstanding landslide. It's going to be very contested, and it's going to be very, very hard for people to vote. Okay. We have here as well as we have the seven of wands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 of wands here, right? We have here some candidates are going to be able to fight. Some are not going to be able to. A lot of people are going to have a lot of things against them. Now, as for the two presidents here, we have here Joe Biden and Donald Trump. We have here the chariot. The challenge is democracy here. So we have one candidate pushing for democracy. We have the other candidate pushing against democracy. We have here, this is also resembling 2020, like the election, the harsh election between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. We have here as well as we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of stories, if I count them correctly, 8 of stories were reversed. And it's telling me here that we kind of like have our eye closed, but it's really open, but we kind of want to keep our eyes closed. We don't really want to acknowledge the fact that the presidents have on these elections. But they do have a very big effect on it. Now, as for the result of Georgia, we have here Donald Trump said, and he did say that if Brian Kempt is the Republican nominee, he's going to make sure that Stacey Abrams wins the governorship. But we have Ace of Pentacles, right? And what it kind of tells me here that she's not going to win any votes by Donald Trump saying that, but what she can win are people who are not going to go out and vote on the Republican side, and therefore that will make up the margin for her to be able to win. Right? We also have here, it will make it a lot easier of a climbing hill, and it will be a devastating blow to the Republicans. So yes, if Donald Trump were to say that he doesn't like a certain candidate or he doesn't agree with them, he will have a major effect on the candidate and Stacey Abrams' results than anybody else. Joe Biden doesn't really have much of an effect, at least not as much as Donald Trump does in terms of worldwide. Joe Biden has more of an effect in terms of policy and the economy and stuff like that, whereas Donald Trump has more of the political sense, if that makes any sense. All right, so issues of voting rights in the states. Will there be a concession? Will there be an issue of voting rights during this during governor's race? One card. Okay, two. I'll take it. Yes. I talked about earlier, we had a communication between the voters and the candidates. I do see it's going to be a lot harder for people to vote. So, yes, there will be a voting rights issue in the state and demo, and it's going to be very hard for both candidates. So, I do see it's not going to help the Republican Party either. And I did say it's going to be a low turnout election overall. So now, will there be a concession from either candidate, from Stacy Abrams or Brian Kempt, the three Republicans? Will there be a concession in 2022 governor's race in Georgia? One card. Will there be a concession? Will anybody concede? Okay, we have trouble here. No, there will not be a concession. We have trouble. The person does not like the results of this election. We have the Ace of Wands. Someone's going to get on the speaker microphone and talk about the results and say that, whatever they want to say. We all know what they're going to say about fraud and stuff like that, the big lie. It could also be that the results were stolen or tampered with. We have here death here of a renewal, a change in government. Could be Stacey Abrams wins and this would be the Republicans flipping off. We have here, it could be the death of Stacey Abrams' campaign. It could be a multitude of different things. It could also be that the Democrats and Republicans don't win and an independent wins instead. We have here in the end, either way, it's very bad cards here. We have people fighting over the result. So I do feel like it's going to be contested and no one is going to concede. Either way, it's going to be a big blow. So yes, someone's going to get hurt. We don't know who it is, but someone's going to get hurt, and the results are going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be like 2020 2.0. And the last question that we want to ask today, can she win truly? Right? We asked my cards, but we're going to ask right away. Can Stacy Abrams truly win the 2020 governor's race? With any plausible outcome, can Stacy Abrams really win? Okay. Out of the three candidates, she's the likeliest one to win. But she's going to have a very, very hard time getting there. We have here that we have this. Out of four possibilities, she wins one. Out of the three candidates, she wins, right? She needs, what it really tells me here, that she needs the right condition, the right environment to win. This is why it's very important for her, right? What she needs to do is she needs to do what she was doing for Joe Biden, and after the 2018 midterm election with her race and losing to Brian Kempt, we have here is that she needs to get out the vote. That's what she needs to work on right now. We also have here as well as we have the 10 of swords here, and it's reversed. And this is kind of telling me here that there's going to be some struggle on upside and up down, but she kind of needs to be aware of that. And I do feel like she is going to be in a better mental space, in a better head. But there are going to be some times where she's going to be like, why am I even doing this? Like, there's no point in this. Right? We also have here as well, we have the 3 of swords here. The heartbreak. I don't feel like she has a lost bone. Like, she has the potential to win. If she really wants it, she will win. And she will beat the crap out of all of them. Right? She will do very well. What we have here as well is, we also have here, we have again 3 down, 2 up. So it tells me here that she may have won in 2018, but she has another shot. So as long as she doesn't look at these 3 candidates and say, oh crap, I might actually lose, with cheating, with voting rights, pandemic and stuff like that, money issues, stuff like that. As long as she don't look at those issues, but understand that she is the driving force to what can win, and she can win, she can do it. If she can promise people in Georgia that she can provide them a better life and be able to help them in the way that the governors never did, or particularly the Republican governors never did, she might actually be able to get out the vote from the Republican ticket, and also people who have never voted before in the Georgia election. We also have here eventually she had the ability to win, and this is the chariot. She's going in inauguration day. So yes, I do see Stacey Abrams winning. She has the cards here. The cards are very positive, but also a little bit negative. But overall, she has the ability. So the answer to today's video and today's question: can she win? Yes. And so with that, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys like it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to today's video. Don't forget to let me know in the comment section below what you think of today's video, and do you think she can win? And what are your cards say? Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. I love you and have a very beautiful night. Peace out, my babies.